Talk about your casting story and why did you want to do like Deal or No Deal Island in the first place?
Oh gosh, my casting story was a lot of fun. Actually, I was cast for another show first, and then that show got scrubbed. And a year later, they called me and they're like, "Would you be interested in Deal or No Deal Island?" And it's like, "Okay, tell me a little bit about it. Do I need to build shelter? Are you providing food, or am I going to be stuck eating rice?" Because they described it as a cross between Deal or No Deal, the game show, and Survivor. And they said, "No, you'll have shelter. Don't worry. You've got a comfortable place to sleep and you'll have food. We'll be providing meals and all that," which they did. And so I said, "Okay, let's go ahead and move forward with this." And I still had to go through interviews, of course, including the main casting production company or producer. And gosh, I ended up getting cast. It was exciting.
What did you expect going into the game? Because when you go through these casting processes, they give you like a little bit of a tidbit, but you don't really know what to expect, especially if it's a new show. So what did you expect going into the game, and then how did that change?
Well, my expectations were to go in and have fun. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I expected to do. And because it was a brand new show, I kind of thought it'd be all new people, nobody I knew, at all. Nobody I knew of even. So when I got there at the airport, I actually saw Rob and I looked at my handler. I was like, "Please tell me he's here to host something." And she said, "I can't tell you anything about it." And yeah, as it is, it ended up that Rob was playing. Um, and I also recognized Claudia at the airport. So I knew there's at least two people here that are going to be interesting to have around. And other than that, my expectations, I knew I was going to be in the jungle. It would be hot, it would be humid. So that didn't surprise me. Um, I think I think the challenges surprised me. I mean, that first one going through the mud was so hard. But I thought that I didn't think they would be quite as physical. I thought maybe there'd be more puzzles going on, something like that. Um, but obviously it was quite physical all the way through.
Yeah, so why did you come out and play so aggressively to begin with and maybe not play the I'm not so strong card? Because once you saw that first challenge and you realized that it was going to be physical, were you ever thinking in your mind, okay, they maybe perceive me as weak, maybe they can drag me to the end, and who knows what that last challenge will be, and I could win that because who knows?
Well, that was kind of my intention going into it. Um, I I didn't want to play, I didn't want to wear my strategy on my sleeve. Okay. And I didn't intend to come out that hard, but I had a target on me from the beginning. And that was put there by Rob. And it was, "Oh, well, you know, we have to build up the pot." By then, we kind of had a good idea on what the game was, kind of. And it's like, we've got to build up the pot. She's not going to be able to bring money to the pot, things like that. And I was like, "Okay, I have to step out of this a little bit." And unfortunately, strategy came into play on the very first challenge. And so I kind of had to show my cards a lot, um, simply because I went back out and went for the case and got the $1 million case. So I had control that round. And I did not know who, I didn't, I mean, I got the steal a case. I did not know who had the $1 million case. And a lot of it they cut out. They make it look like Dawson just went, oh, sure, yeah, I've got it. Go ahead and steal it. Make me a promise kind of thing. That's not how it happened because I told them I know who the first people were that were up here. Therefore, those first people probably have the bigger cases. Dawson, Rob, Alyssa was one, Branson was one. Um, I knew what Amy had because, well, yeah, I knew what Amy had because she came up the side of the dock. So I knew where hers was. And I said, so basically, if nobody tells me who has the $1 million case, I'm going to take one of the six of you and put you in the bottom two. And obviously, they did not want that. Dawson trusted me, which was smart on his part because the two things they didn't show, well, they did show me when I still took the case from him. But the other thing that they did not show is that not only did I tell him I will not put you up against the banker, but everybody else agreed that they would not take him out if they were to lose to the banker. So Dawson was safe no matter what. So it was smart for him to give up the million.
Yeah, so how awful was that mud pit? And were you shocked that like Branson was trying to help you because like it obviously screwed him over?
I did not know that Branson was trying to help me because I was over on the other side. He went to the front of the platform and I walked along the side. I wasn't getting in that mud again until I absolutely had to. So I was walking along the side of the bank to go closer to that case. And then all of a sudden everyone started yelling, Kim, this one's closer, this one's closer. And I was like, how? And that's when I found out that Branson, he definitely faked it. He was like, oh, I can't do it anymore. I'm gassed and all this. So I walked back along the bank to the platform and went in. And I didn't know until after, like after when everything was done, that's when I knew or that he told me that he had actually gone out there to help me and pull the case in for closer, that he wasn't looking to trade his out just in case.
Yeah.
So
So after that you win immunity and you're safe, did you try setting up any alliances? Because we mainly just saw like people sucking up to Aaron and all that, but we never actually see like people in power like actually trying to use that to your advantage. So what were you doing at that time?
at that point, we had just gotten there. We literally had met each other for the first time about maybe 20 minutes before we did the walk up the beach, and we couldn't talk to each other while we were walking up. So we had, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 minutes only with the people that were in our Jeep when we pulled up. So I had only talked to two people at that point. Afterwards, I kind of had a feel for, who I kind of had that initial vibe with. And so I did talk to them. Um, I automatically had a vibe with Dawson. Dawson and I made eye contact before we were ever there. So I felt good with Dawson. I felt good with Stephanie. Initially with Alyssa, I felt good. Jordan, I felt good with. And Amy, I wasn't too sure about. She was very vocal about things, so I wasn't too sure about Amy. Um, Miranda, I didn't have a good feel for because I felt like she was just kind of there, I just didn't know. So really it was mostly, I would say, me, Stephanie, Dawson, and then I really got to know, once I got to know Nick, I liked him. Jamil, I would have totally aligned with in a heartbeat. And I still love Jamil. But Jamil was with Rob and Claudia and Aaron, and I'm going, yeah, I don't think that's going to work for me. Since Rob was coming after me from the jump, it was going to be difficult at best to align with him.
Yeah, so going into episode two, why were the arrows so hard to shoot? Because I feel you with this. Because the only time I've ever gotten a bullseye like an archery is when I hit the other target by accident, not even my own. So why were those like arrows with that like it looked like a Chinese crossbow almost like so hard to shoot?
It was a crossbow, but it was wooden and they were not all the same. So, and they moved, God, they shifted easily because I fired a crossbow before. I've been fine with it, but these were not like you've got a scope kind of crossbow. Um, I missed most of them, not by that much. There were like two of them that I missed way off. Um, and when I moved from one crossbow to the other, um, that second one, it tilted really easy, like almost like it wasn't attached. And I I don't know. I just barely touched the trigger and it went right down into the ground. I'm like, oh shit. So yeah, that part was not fun.
Yeah, so but before that challenge, after you had that conversation with Jamil when they were like all in the water, was that alliance of like Jordan, Nick, Amy, and yourself, was that like a real thing or was that just kind of like played up to the cameras or what was your feelings about that? Because Alyssa was kind of playing both sides.
I I don't think it was a real thing. I think it could have been because we all saw that group out there in the water. And and I had the power at that point actually because Jamil, I talked to him. I kind of threw Rob's name out there on purpose to see how he would react to it. Is he that tight with Rob? I don't know. But when he beelined it out into the water, and then all of a sudden they all look over, and it's like, yeah, no, this is not going to happen. And it just so happened that Amy was there, Jordan was there. Who else was up there? Amy, Jordan, Stephanie was somewhere in the vicinity there.
And it wasn't Nick, it was
Dawson
Dawson.
was up there. Huh?
Yeah, it wasn't Nick, it was Dawson, my bad.
Yeah, Dawson was up there. No, Nick was in the water
Yeah.
with Jamil, Claudia, Rob, Aaron, and Alyssa were right on the shore. So they were all down there, five of them. And yeah, so I don't know. At that point, I still didn't really trust Amy because she did seem like she was playing in the middle. She was cheering on Claudia, but at the same time, we'd get together and talk, and she's like, no, I'm not with Rob at all. So she wasn't really with them, but she was definitely playing the middle.
It's weird. I feel like they should try to get rid of the people in the middle because they don't really offer anything. Like if I ever got on Deal or New Deal Island, I have a really good strategy to play the middle, which I don't want to reveal. But like
Yeah.
I feel like people who actively are like, I'm not really loyal to anyone should just be gone. Like you could easily
Well,
play the middle, but still be loyal to multiple people. You can just play both sides of the fence.
absolutely. And the group that I was talking to kind of spoke like that because Stephanie definitely was not in the middle. Um, Jordan was in the middle. Miranda, we had no idea what was going through her mind still. Um, and Amy professed that she was not in the middle, but she really was. She was really playing kind of dead center until after Miranda left. And then she kind of chose her side. So I I don't know. The hard part about taking out the middle is they are people that can potentially be with you. You just don't know it yet. Whereas, what are you
Yeah.
going to do? Try and flip someone who's on the other side?
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't
So
happening.
Why did Claudia like hate your guts so much? Was there anything like behind the scenes that we didn't get to see? Like, where did it really start? Give me all the tea.
Claudia, I don't know. We were in the same tent. Me, Claudia, Stephanie, Alyssa, and Jordan were the five girls in the girls' tent. Um, I don't know. She just didn't like me, and I didn't dislike her. I just wasn't working with her. I think it really hit when I played the banker in the second episode and took out Jamil. And that just really pissed her off. That's all there was to it because Jamil absolutely worshiped Claudia, but at the same time, he was kind of Rob's right-hand man. That's what made them so dangerous. And when I played the banker, I couldn't take out Rob and I couldn't take out Aaron because they were safe. I couldn't take out, I could have taken out Claudia, and I almost did, in fact. Um, by then, I knew that Alyssa was kind of in with them, and but she really wasn't a possibility for me to take out. Um, I still trusted her, and she was my partner in the bows and arrows.
Yeah,
And
that would kind of look
she,
bad.
huh?
That would kind of look bad if you took her out.
At the same time, though, I made it clear to a couple of people. I kept it pretty quiet, but she had gotten the $20,000 flag when she went up that tree and didn't tell anybody, right? I
Yeah.
knew it, but mainly because I came right out and asked her point blank, did you get the flag? And initially I told her, keep it to yourself. That's fine. You can keep the full 20,000. But at the same time, it was kind of like, when you go out to dinner and they bring the check and it's like, no, I'll get it. No, I'll get it. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't read that the way I was writing it. And she kept it, she didn't tell anyone. And I actually kept it quiet for her. Okay. I didn't tell anybody until right before my elimination. And then I let one person know. And I was like, you tell whoever you want. But it looked bad because everybody else split that they had. There were three other ones that got the flag. All three of them split with their partner. It's like, we're playing as a team, we're sharing it as a team, things like that. And I'm just waiting for Alyssa to say something, never said anything. So that's why I was a little bit tempted to take out Alyssa, but I felt like I needed to take out somebody bigger on that side.
Yeah, so what's that feeling when you beat the banker and the spotlight's on you and Joe is asking you, are you gonna make a good deal or a bad deal? Like, what's that feeling like when your game is on the line and you actually win?
My throat was in my stomach. It's so hard, especially the pauses between the banker's offer and what to do. And at the very end, when I made the deal, and um, there's a whole production pause, they've got to reset cameras and all that stuff. Not that they knew who I was going to take out, but they do pull you over to the side beforehand and say, who are you thinking about if you beat the banker? Who are you thinking about eliminating from the game? And I gave them like three names because at that point I wasn't really considering Claudia simply because I didn't consider Claudia a strategic threat. I knew that physically she was strong, but it also seemed like strength wasn't that you've got to have luck on your side and you've got to have some sort of strategy going in. So I wasn't as nervous about her, but when she got wind that it could be Jamil, she got a little nasty when we were at the Bankers Temple, and I made a joke in reference to Rob and Aaron, and Rob acted all offended by it. And
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there going, yeah, whatever, Rob. I know you too well. I know you're not offended, and you would laugh other than the fact that you don't want to laugh at it because then your alliance won't follow you with that. So, and Claudia was like, well, that's rude. And I'm like, oh my God, take a joke here, folks. Um, and when she was making kind of those comments, that's when I was like, okay, you know what? Claudia could be in the mix too here if I beat the banker, just because she should be.
I
But
wonder who she actually thought you were going to like take out, like why, like in her mind, like what did she think was gonna happen? Like it's not you, so be quiet. And then also
exactly.
it's like she knew you weren't on her side anyway, so what did she
Mhm.
expect you to do? That's what I'm wondering from her perspective.
Okay, and here's the thing, the two main names that I said it could be was Nick and Jamil. Well, Nick and Jamil both knew that
Yeah,
because
they said that.
they couldn't be Rob, it couldn't be Aaron. Claudia was in the girls' tent, and Jamil even said he's like, Kim's not going to take out a girl. Um, so they kind of discounted that it could be Alyssa or Claudia. They figured it was going to be the two of them. When it came down to it, I think I could have worked really well with Jamil if it weren't for what he was aligned with. Um, so I kind of had to do Jamil. Nick, I didn't think was in with them tight enough to not be able to sway him.
Yeah.
So, and Nick, I loved. He was so funny from the start. So,
So going into episode 3, was there anything that we didn't get to see with the Rob Claudia confrontation after your big win? Or did they basically show it all?
no, episode what in episode 3?
Yeah, like when you get back to camp and Rob's like in the hammock and like you said some comment and he was like, that's messed up, and Claudia's like, she called me a bitch or something like that, or I forget what the exact
No,
terminology was.
no, okay. Alyssa was so sick the night before that. Okay, after the was it after the jungle? No, it was before the jungle, but after the bows and arrows. And she was having digestive problems. And she literally was up and moving and walking and was going to kind of lay down on the sofas there in the gazebo that we had, which our nighttime handler was over there. And I was like, she was not comfortable with the fact that, you know, she's a lesbian. We had a male handler at night, and she just really wasn't very comfortable with that situation. Um, Not that she thought anything was happening. She being sick, she just wasn't comfortable with it. I said, you know what? I'm going to stay up. I I stayed up the whole night with her. When she would fall asleep, I'd stay up in case she woke up and needed to head to a bathroom or out into the jungle or whatever. And I stayed up the entire night with Alyssa. So when she came up with the plan, um, I I knew about it because, if you're not a part of it, you are the plan, right?
Yeah,
So
that's just
I
reality
knew
TV 101. And everybody
exactly.
knows
So
that.
I knew. But when we were talking, she said to me that, something in reference to Rob and Claudio, right? How they they were so pissed off about Jamil and they're coming after me and things like that. She didn't say anything bad about them, but let me know things that I really kind of already knew. She confirmed it. And I looked at her, I went, those fuckers. And that was it. Okay, that was the conversation. And that next morning, she went to Rob and Nick and let's see, it was Rob and Nick and I think it was Miranda that was sitting over with them and was like, "Yeah, Kim called you fuckers." Oh no, she said Kim called you motherfuckers. And Rob was like, "What? That's so inappropriate. My wife and daughters are going to see this." And I'm going, "Oh my God, Rob, you've said worse." But that, I mean, afterwards when I saw that. Um, so she told them, and then she told Claudia and Aaron and Amy and Stephanie was over there as another group later on that day. And that's when Claudia said, I don't care if she called me a motherfucker. I called her a bitch. I've been, what is it? She said, I've been called worse by better and
Yeah.
prettier. Okay. Hello, straight out of Real Housewives of Atlanta. And I knew it when I saw it on the show. I was like, she said that before. But that's what that was. It was, I probably shouldn't have said it, but I still trusted Alyssa at that point.
And it makes no sense for her to go after you because like she would like did she think her ass is on the line? Like if I ever speak to her, I would love to hear her perspective because I don't think anybody was actively targeting her. I just think it's one of those things where it's like the
Nope.
bank like they think like the banker is watching you and you have to play hard, but it's like sometimes you just gotta stay in the background and strike when necessary.
If Alyssa had said nothing, she wouldn't have even been a consideration for me when I ended up having to play the banker. When we were out there in the jungle and Claudia lost her mind out there, um, you know, at that point, I knew for sure 100%. And Stephanie and I had already talked. And she's like, I don't want you in the bottom two. Their whole thing on it was, well, Kim should play the banker because, we want to get her out. And she beat the banker last time. She's not going to beat the banker twice. So that was their thought process on it. When Stephanie and Stephanie and I had talked up there, and she's like, I'm not taking the million. Or I'm gonna take the million. I'm gonna steal Rob's case because then I'm safe. And ended up, instead taking Claudia's case, which made Rob safe and putting Claudia in against the banker.
Yeah.
Now, at
So
that at that point, I figured, Claudia's going to take me out. If she loses to the banker, she's eliminating me. And she let everyone think that too, but that's not what she was going to do. So
yeah, I think she was gonna take out Stephanie. But
she won.
but like you thought that at the time? Were you like doing like any kind of like witch spells or any like manifestations like please lose the banker? Because that's what I would be doing if this is the whole game of luck.
Absolutely. I was sitting up there. You know, I'm I'm gonna clap for her because whatever, be a good sport. I'm gonna clap for her when she was going through all of them. But when it was down to the three cases plus hers, um, and she took the deal, and I was like, oh, for the love of God, please, please, please be one of those big cases and be out of here. And that's why when she lost and was out, I didn't cheer that she was gone. I kind of wanted to. In fact, I really wanted to, but I was not going to. Um, so I golf clapped it. And, you didn't see me, oh, poor Claudia. No, no, no pity for the kitty on that one.
So going into episode four, where were you in terms of like alliances and um all of that? Because like the numbers are getting smaller. Um so like what was your mindset going into that? Because you were like, I'm the cat with nine lives, like I need to do something or else I'm going out next, which unfortunately you did.
At that time, I was really close with Stephanie, pretty close with Nick, with Amy, really close with Dawson. Um, Miranda, again, still didn't know what was going on going through her mind. Um, those were the main ones. And it was easier for those alliances to form at that point, mainly because Claudia had just left and Jamil was eliminated the round before that, right? So they were already down two people.
Yeah.
So we definitely had a little bit more of the majority. In that competition, that was the one where we went out on the Zephyr on the boats and brought back the cases and had to basically play poker against the other person that we went out there with. So I played against Miranda on that one. And I did beat her. I actually had the highest case on our team. And our team was me, Stephanie, Nick, Dawson, and Rob. So Rob picked Nick first, and Nick picked me. And I thought, here we go again. Rob's setting it up. Rob's going to throw this. This is not going to be good. Um, and he did. He threw it. He threw it to Aaron, and therefore they had more money. And we were up for elimination. And Amy, as the captain of the other team, got to pick who would play the banker. I went to Amy and told her I wanted to play the banker. And she's like, no, Rob. And I'm like, if Rob wins, he's taking me out. And you are losing somebody. You're losing a number on your side if that happens. And so she told me, so Amy told me that she would put me in to play the banker. So I was expecting to play the banker that night. And I'm talking right up to the point where we walked into the temple. And then we get in there and she put Rob in. I kept looking over at her once Rob stepped up there. And I was like, Amy, what happened? And she just kind of shrugged her shoulders and didn't say anything. Everyone was kind of a little bit confused by it. Okay. Afterwards, Amy told me, well, he had a 50-50 shot of going home. And I said, but I was the 50 that was going home if he didn't. And you were literally losing a number. And she really didn't see it at that time, but she did afterwards. And I don't know that she would have done anything different. She might have, but I don't know for sure that she would have. But yeah, she lost somebody there. And I was shocked, though, when she put Rob in instead of me.
You tried to like persuade Rob because did you know at that point that like Claudia was previously considering taking out Stephanie? Rob actually almost wanted Aaron to take out Stephanie in the first episode. Did you know he had that feeling and we were like, hey, I know we're not on the best terms, but she's doing a lot better at challenges than I am. So would you ever consider like taking out her and doing like an olive branch and I could maybe take out if I win like a Miranda per se, who's not really doing much according to you. And did you ever try something like that?
Well, he and Dawson actually talked about that at one point, saying the ones that are the most dangerous right now are the ones in the middle. And he mentioned Jordan, he mentioned Miranda. But I did go to Rob. I wasn't stupid. I knew he was going to take me out if he won. And I went to him and said, you realize that taking me out is an emotional play. It's not strategic. We can see how physical so far the challenges have been. And even though I did well on the Zephyr, that was, kind of luck with, thinking, pulling the cord and taking Miranda's case. Um, So I was trying to convince him that the smarter play was to keep me in as a non-physical threat, because while I may not be able to save him, I would be able to save him to some degree, just because of the luck element. And he was like, no, he pretty much told me point blank, no, I'm not going to work with you. And I told him, I said, I know you don't trust me and I don't trust you. And that's okay. But we can use that together and I can be a benefit to you. No, he wasn't going to do it. That's all there was to it. So, my only other plan was Stephanie and I got together at about, 3, 4 in the morning when everyone was asleep. And, I tapped her and I went out of our tent and I went back to the bathrooms. So did she, or not to the bathrooms, to where the showers were. And so did she. And we went to the back side of them so we could see if anybody was coming or going. And I said, one of two things is going to happen. Either Rob is gone or I am gone. Therefore, I'm telling you everything I know, absolutely everything I know about anybody, including Rob. And said, and you can do with it what you want. Just know that if I'm still here, you're who I want to be working with. You're my number one now. And I said, and you have been for like a couple weeks. Stephanie and I really vibed well. Um, and I spilled it all, including letting her know about Alyssa's $20,000 that nobody knew. And she did utilize that later on. But I told her about it and told her I spilled all the tea. She knew everything.
Yeah, so when Rob eliminates you and you're going home, what did you take away from the experience overall?
I first of all, I loved every minute being there. It didn't look like it. The edits looked like I was sad or crying or I was the one all alone. I wasn't all alone. I had people I was working with, I had alliances, things like that. So the edit though did make it look like I was all alone by myself. Um, so walking away from it, I think that the biggest takeaway was I did not regret doing it. Okay, sometimes people regret going on these shows. No, I was like, at my age, the opportunities don't come up all that often. Even though I'm a smaller demographic, the opportunities just are not there as often. And that was my thought process going into it was, you know what? I'm probably going to be one and done, and I'm okay with that. But more important, I will always regret it if I don't do it. I'll look back going, "Oh, I should have, I could have, you know, um, but I'll never regret going on there. My only regret is I almost was playing it like a Big Brother style to take my time forming the relationships as opposed to jumping right into them. I wish I would have started building some stronger relationships from the beginning, but by the time I was out of the game, I had built some very strong relationships.